Welcome back to Amazingly Average, the show with advice for amazingly average authors and actors. My name is John, and my family has been fostering this dog named Carl for the last week, and Carl finally found his forever home, so we're very thankful for that. I hope you get everything you deserve, Carl. Today's episode of Scream was called Dawn of the Dead. There is both an original and a remake of the Dawn of the Dead movies. I don't know if George Romero did both of them, but he definitely did the first one. In the original Dawn of the Dead, there's a group of survivors that band together in a shopping mall. The zombies are very slow in this one. All the zombies are inside the shopping mall, but the survivors are protected by something like a fake storefront to hide their secret getaway. A group of bikers invades the mall. A lot of people die. One of the survivors gets reanimated, and he takes out this guy that's betraying the group and shoots him, and then he gets torn apart in this really grisly, disgusting way. Then the former survivor, now zombie, leads the zombie masses past the fake storefront and up to the secret getaway. There's two endings to this movie. The first one is that there's a male and female survivor. They both get into a helicopter and they fly away. The second ending is not as friendly. The last man standing shoots himself and commits suicide, and the last female standing turns on the helicopter, and as the blades are spinning around, she hits her head against one of the blades, committing suicide. Shortly after she commits suicide, the chopper stops, suggesting that the helicopter never had enough gas for either of them to escape anyway. The first ending is the one that they decided to go with, but it's kind of neat to know both endings. In the remake of Dawn of the Dead, there is yet again a group of survivors. They are in a shopping mall. The zombies are not in the mall, although a couple of them are hiding inside the mall and they get taken out. The zombies are very fast this time around. The survivors plan to get onto a boat and go away to the secret island. Almost all the survivors are killed except for 4 of them and a dog. They make it to the island and then the dog runs away. All of these zombies rush onto the pier, led to believe that all 4 of the survivors are killed. Both very sad endings. Now remember from last time, all this blood rained down on Brooke after she was announced to be a finalist in this Lady of the Lake pageant. Jake's dead body falls. Because this is all evidence, she is not allowed to shower until Maggie, Emma's mom, takes a bunch of photographs because it is evidence. This reminded me of a really morbid episode of Bones where the Santa Claus blows himself up and this woman has brain guts and everything all over her, but she's not allowed to take a shower because it's all evidence. The school is put into lockdown, and as Brooke is permitted to finally take a shower, Audrey is allowed to accompany her there. Audrey tells Brooke that she's been getting texts that weren't from Jake the entire time. Sheriff Acosta's mentality behind doing the school lockdown is that he wants to induce Stockholm Syndrome, which is when everybody's cramped into a small place, one of them is bound to confess to committing a crime. Something interesting to note is that both Haley and Karen Lang make their return. Everybody is in the library, and Emma finds Jake's phone in her backpack. This makes her panic because everybody realizes that the killer now has to be in the school. I was so busy thinking that Haley was a bitch before that I did not realize what a babe she is. I don't think that's creepy for me to say because the actress is probably closer to my age, but damn, she's so hot. The mayor shows up and gives Brooke a hug, and during this little scene, it's kind of unrelated, but it made me wonder where Brooke's mom is. Last season, Brooke's mom was in rehab, so I'm wondering where she is now, because I don't think rehab would have lasted that long. Audrey convinces Emma and Kieran not to turn the cell phone into the police. Noah wants to talk to Zoe, and then she's like, please, this is not the time or place, I don't want to talk to you. And then as Noah's leaving, she's like, wait, I do want to talk to you. She then says, I think you make the morbid beautiful. Zoe 2016. Everybody in the library finds out that the cops are searching everybody's lockers, and Kieran is freaking out, which led me to believe that Kieran had a gun in his locker because the gun was his buddy last season, and my suspicions were confirmed. He and Noah sneak out into the hallways to get to his locker. As Kieran is unlocking his locker, a cop shows up, searches his locker, and finds the gun. Kieran says that this is his father's gun and he has it with him to protect himself and his friends. This is majorly illegal. Sheriff Acosta gives him a pardon on this in favor of Kieran being an in for him, so like a private eye kind of. Logistically, there are serious major legal repercussions for having a gun in school. I understand why Kieran has it, but I also don't think that the sheriff would ever get away with doing something like that. I didn't think that this was suspicious in a killer way at all because the killer has never once used a gun. That is definitely not the killer's type of weapon. In exchange for not being thrown into jail, Kieran tells the sheriff that Emma has Jake's phone. This kind of betrays a level of trust with Emma. They both seem to understand where the other one is coming from, but this isn't good for Emma and Kieran. Before the cops take the phone from Emma, she's thinking, I need to get rid of this. Eli says that she should wipe her fingerprints off of it and put it in the trash or something somewhere else where the cops will eventually find it. This is definitely a criminal mindset, so it's kind of making Eli look a little suspicious here. Gustavo makes 2 morbid drawings, which we see in this episode. The first one I'm pretty sure was Eli, but I'm not positive. It could have been Kieran, but it looks like Eli. And then the second one, when Audrey takes his iPad away from him and shows it to the entire student body, it's Zoe's head on the ground. Zoe is beheaded. What the fudge, Gustavo? Sheriff Acosta has a brief interrogation with Emma, and it basically ends in him saying, I believe that you believe that you're the victim here. And then he lets her go because she believes she's innocent. And then he later says that she could very well be a sociopath. While that would be a very interesting twist, I don't think the writers are taking that road with this. That would be so My Bloody Valentine if something like that happened. Emma confronts Haley when she hears her talking about her. It kind of goes like this. Emma says, you shouldn't be afraid of me. Haley says, yes, I kind of am afraid of you. Everybody around you dies. All your friends are gonna die. Every time somebody dies, there's a Duvall left standing. Emma punches Haley in the face. This reminded me of Scream 1. Bam! Bitch went down. Bam! Sid, super bitch. Tatum Riley, 1996. Haley then says, you dumb bitch, and knocks Emma over. They get in a little fight and they get pulled apart. Karen Lang takes Emma, puts her into a room, says, you've had several PTSD triggers. You should rest so the adrenaline works its way through your system. Karen Lang then goes out of her office and locks Emma in it. That is a huge no-no in the public education system. Emma's freaking out when she realizes she's locked in. She opens the blinds. The killer is right there. Emma gets into fight or flight mode, but she is not afraid anymore. Now she's raged. She takes a chair. She bashes through the window. She cuts herself on the way through. She has a bloody arm, a bloody hand, and then she's shouting at the killer something like, not this time, or not my friend, something like that. And then she looks like she's about to charge this person, but I think the killer got away first. Brooke accuses Seth Branson of being the killer in her interrogation with the police. Audrey says something very interesting here. She says to Noah, I'll apologize if Gustavo's not the killer, but what are you going to say when you find me hanging from something with my insides on the outside? That is literally what happened to Drew Barrymore in the very first scene of the first Scream movie. Brooke goes to look at Jake's dead body. Emma's mom, Maggie, tells Brooke after she insists that Jake had probably been dead for 2 or 3 days. What's important to note here is that the events of this season so far have occurred over just 5 days. Sheriff Acosta overhears Maggie telling this confidential information to Brooke and excuses her from the case and has her escorted out of the building. This is totally understandable. I know why Maggie would be upset, but legally this makes a lot of sense, especially for all the other bullshit that Acosta has been doing this episode. We cut back to the library. Gustavo sees Audrey looking at him through the bookshelf in the library. He holds a finger up to her, pulls the hypothetical trigger. At this point, she snaps, takes his iPad, shows everybody the morbid drawings. Everybody kicks the shit out of Gustavo. Haley is very quick to jump to Audrey's aid here, which kind of looks a little incriminating for her sake. The sheriff talks to Emma one more time. She says that she freaked out because she was locked in the room by Karen Lang, which the sheriff is like, no, that was very bad. And then she withholds from the sheriff the fact that she saw the Brandon James killer. Kieran offers to give Emma a ride home, and she declines, setting the tone for a dying relationship. We already know that Emma's gonna kiss Eli somewhere down the season because they've shown that in a teaser. Gustavo really hates Audrey. Brooke jumps into a pool and she starts screaming. Noah hacks Audrey's phone, sees all of these text messages between her and the killer, calling her partner, and then he sees the gif of her unpinning that message off of Jake's corpse. In the preview for next week's episode, it shows Brooke and Gustavo looking like they're at Seth Branson's place holding him hostage and threatening to like cause bodily harm to him. It looked like they were holding a knife up to somebody's body. This is kind of a spoiler, but there's this teaser that's been going around of somebody getting a hot iron pressed against their face and they're screaming, and the face looks a lot like Seth Branson. You gotta pour one out when the pretty man's face gets ruined. And it's time for the killer prediction. Gee, who does John think the killer is? Can you guess? Zoe? Yeah, I'm still gonna stick to my guns and say it's Zoe because she's been in every episode. She's been just enough around. There hasn't been almost any incriminating stuff for her at all. And I think that Haley is just a red herring, as well as Gustavo. I don't think Karen Lang is being pinned as a suspect, even though she locked Emma into a room where the killer was gonna show up. Unless Karen Lang somehow knew that the killer would show up, which would make her another accomplice, which I think is unlikely. I think Karen Lang isn't a suspect. I think she's just stupid. Well, there you have it. The recap for Dawn of the Dead, and I will see you next time.